Don't hurt her.
You. Your last customer.
A disturbing call comes to the police, and a little later all news channels report about the incident that happened in Chicago.
ESW's in his chest. He's in critical condition. Have a trauma surgeon meet us at the ER entrance.
Late at night through the streets of Chicago to the hospital rushes a police car. In it they carry heavily wounded officer. Officer at the wheel maneuvers between cars trying to deliver partner to the hospital as soon as possible. He talks with him trying not to let him lose consciousness, but he already loses consciousness. Arriving at the hospital, doctors rush to help. Wounded lay on stretcher and carry inside. Officer that brought him incoherently explains what happened. Patient urgently carry to operating room and call Paul, best surgeon of hospital. Paul quickly passes his current case to another doctor and rushes to operating room. While he goes, their colleague briefly tells him essence. Reaching the hall, Paul begins give instructions and prepare for operation. Putting on gloves, he already is going to begin, but late. Officer dies.
Time of death, 12:24 a.m.
He informs policemen about death of his partner, that one killed by grief, and blames himself. But Paul says that guilt on him not is. Officer lost too much blood.
Sorry.
The next morning, Paul has breakfast with wife Lucy. He complains that his watch begins to run slow. Lucy suggests to buy new ones, but Paul is too attached to these. After this, the conversation passes to their daughter and her admission to college.
She's going to get in.
I know. I just miss envelopes.
At this moment, their daughter Jordan receives long-awaited news. She is accepted to New York University. Parents hear her joyful scream upstairs and guess what made her so glad. Soon Jordan comes down and announces this herself.
Thank you. I got in. I got in.
She promises Paul that she will come to wash clothes and visit them. After this, goes to the room to call a friend and find out whether accepted her too. When she comes out, Lucy notices that Paul does not look especially happy. Later, the family comes to Jordan's football match, supporting her from the stands. Paul is a little sad. The daughter leaves so far to New York. Lucy reminds him that once she herself left to study in Texas.
Yeah, I think my dad was happy when I wanted to leave Texas to go to college.
She adds that Jordan will have enough reasons to come home, and they will be able to go to her. While they talk, nearby stands a man who harshly scolds his daughter for the game. Paul makes a remark to him, but in reply hears rudeness.
Jesus Christ! Take it easy, pal. You're gonna give yourself a heart attack.
I wasn't talking to you, Lakeshore Drive.
Paul calmly says that girls are still children and it is not worth to react so. The man continues to behave aggressively and even pushes Paul. In order not to aggravate the conflict, Paul restrains himself and Lucy stands between them. The man mockingly throws that the wife stands up for him and leaves. After this, the family goes to the pizzeria where Paul's brother Frank waits for them. There they tell Jordan about what happened.
Why didn't you whoop this guy's butt? Like in the old days. You should have just... your mom came over.
Frank says that Paul once was an excellent fighter, but Paul objects. In youth, he fought only with his father and always lost. In the end, it is he who cries after each fight. Frank begins to show Jordan self-defense moves, but she replies that she already trains and all this is already familiar to her.
All right.
Seriously, she trains Monday, Wednesday, and Friday this one. Watch out.
Then Frank turns to Lucy and asks about her doctorate. She answers that she almost finished the work and all raise glasses for her. After dinner, Paul and Frank step aside to talk. Frank asks his brother for money. Paul agrees to give him $2,000 and Frank thanks him.
Hey man, I've been convicted of a crime. It's not like I'm a criminal, but...
Their conversation is accidentally overheard by a parking attendant named Miguel. He notices that in the evening the family will not be at home.
It's La Fonda.
At 8 o'clock, okay?
It's 3 o'clock, I got it.
Wednesday, 8 o'clock, La Fonda.
Before returning the car, Miguel secretly takes a photo of the address from the dashboard. In the evening, the family gets ready for the celebration in honor of Paul's birthday. He finds a new watch which Lucy bought him as a gift and gladly thanks her. At this time, Susan calls. She informs that his patient Terry again feels bad.
Terry has 104 fever.
So, no birthday dinner at La Fonda.
Jordan says that she herself will tell Uncle Frank and hugs father and promises that the dinner they will arrange anyway soon. After she goes out, Lucy says that they will be able to celebrate the next day. Paul returns to the hospital, and Lucy with Jordan stop by the store for groceries. Driving up home, they notice a van parked in a strange way. Jordan goes upstairs to make a call, and Lucy stays in the kitchen to bake. But at the door stands a man watching everything happening. Suspecting nothing, Lucy continues to prepare the cake until she notices a strangeness. The pages of the cookbook turn as if by a draft. She turns around. The window is wide open, though earlier it was closed. She asks Jordan if she saw her iPad, and, hearing confirmation, goes to the window and closes it. But then she notices dirty footprints on the floor and understands someone is in the house. Lucy calls her daughter, but before Jordan manages to answer, from the bathroom jumps out a man and grabs
I'm gonna have
her.
to call you back. My mom's being a total psycho.
Lucy grabs the phone to call the police. Seconds later, Jordan is already dragged downstairs, where 3 armed criminals appear. Lucy cries and begs to leave them alone. She is threatened with violence if she does not fulfill their demands. The leader forces her to open the safe and give out all valuables, while the others turn the whole house upside down. She begs not to harm her daughter, and one of the men coldly remarks that everything depends only on her. An argument begins between the robbers. One orders his partner to stop playing with the knife and asks to put it back. Going upstairs, Lucy says that her husband has another watch and cash lies in the safe. The man sarcastically thanks her. Downstairs at this time, one of the raiders goes to the basement for rope. Lucy cannot manage to open the safe. She tries to explain that she is nervous because a gun is pointed at her. At this moment, left alone with Jordan, that same man with the knife takes advantage of the moment and begins to harass her. Lucy is still trying to open the safe, and Jordan begs the raider to leave her alone. At this moment, the lock yields, and Lucy begins to put valuables into his bag. Meanwhile, the one who went for the rope returns. He begins to tie Jordan, but the first bandit demands to wait. He wants more time.
Dude, just give me 2 minutes, please. I'm begging you. 2 minutes, please. It's not that kind of a party, all right?
The second refuses, and a quarrel flares up between them. While they argue, Jordan takes the chance, grabs the knife, and slashes one of them across the face. Enraged, the other throws Jordan to the floor. At this moment, Lucy returns together with the third robber, and, realizing that her daughter is in danger, acts instantly, splashes boiling water into one's face, and shouts, "Jordan, run!" But they do not manage to escape. The criminals lose patience and open fire. At this time, Paul is in the operating room. Suddenly, they announce 2 women in serious condition are being brought to the emergency department. He immediately hands the patient to a colleague and rushes to help, but other doctors stop him, not letting him into the operating room. He understands it is his family. Reaching the emergency room, he learns Lucy was taken to surgery. Paul bursts into the operating room, but there they tell him the terrible thing. It was not possible to save Lucy. This truth becomes unbearable. Crushed by grief, Paul enters to say goodbye and barely endures the sight of his wife's body. Soon detectives Raines and Jackson arrive. They question Paul about what happened and clarify what valuables were stolen. Frank also shows up, furious that the police do not pay attention to the increasing crimes. He asks how many robberies happened recently, and the detectives admit 6. Frank yells at them for not warning the residents. Paul, however, asks his brother to calm down. The detectives promise to find the culprits. Before leaving, Raines leaves Paul a business card and says to call at the slightest necessity.
It's got my cell phone number on there.
Thank you, Detective Rance.
At this tense moment, a nurse appears with news. Jordan survives after surgery. Paul rushes to her, and the doctor says that the surgery went successfully. The girl is in stable condition but remains in a coma. Paul does not leave her bedside.
So I gotta take Mom home to Grandpa today.
After some time, Lucy's funeral takes place. Her father, Ben, delivers a touching speech. Paul listens to it, overwhelmed with the pain of losing his wife.
And I'm seeing something I was never meant to see.
On the way back, Ben thanks Paul for bringing her to her native land. He says that Paul will always have a place here. Then he asks if there is any news from the police. Paul answers that 3 suspicious repairmen were seen nearby. Suddenly, Ben brakes sharply. He notices something on the road. Anger seizes him, and he drives the car to his property, where they notice 2 poachers. Seeing him, they rush to run. Ben rushes after them and opens fire while they disappear in the distance. They manage to get away. Paul is shocked by what he sees. Ben, however, remains firm. According to him, relying on the police is pointless. They always come only after the trouble. Sometimes a man must act himself. To prove his words, he shoots the wounded deer left by the poachers, freeing it from suffering. After some time, Paul drives through the city and talks on the phone with Detective Rains. Hearing that there are still no suspects, he gets angry and snaps at a man who approached his car. Rains tries to calm him and promises to inform as soon as news appears. Paul drives away, and a homeless man shouts insults after him.
I have more information.
Yeah.
Later, Paul visits Jordan, who still lies in a coma. At her bedside sits her friend Sophie, reading her a book. Paul enters, greets, and asks what she is reading. She answers, a textbook on economics. Paul jokes that from this Jordan definitely will not wake up. Sophie laughs and says that at least this way Jordan will not fall behind in studies. She asks if he wants her to leave, but Paul asks her to stay.
Do you think it helps?
I know it does.
Paul begins to go to a psychotherapist. He cannot sleep. To lie in their shared bed is too hard, and he falls asleep only on the couch, and even then only for a short time. He cannot work and cannot stay at home, constantly thinking about the fact that he could not protect his family. The therapist explains to him that everything goes step by step and time is needed.
This is a process, and it's gonna take time.
I know it's a process.
Despairing in the futile wait for answers, Paul comes straight to the station and arranges a conversation with Rains. He asks about DNA evidence, but learns that no matches were found in the database. On the wall of his office, Paul notices a board with dozens of open cases, most of which remain unsolved. Obviously, the department is overloaded. Rains says that mostly these are gang disputes and the department does not care about them. But Paul's wife's case, according to him, is different. If they find at least one of the criminals, he will give up the others. Paul asks if a reward can be appointed for information, but Rains warns this will only cause a flood of false leads.
We'll just get flooded with false leads. Me and my partner are gonna have to waste time tracking them down.
Then Paul asks whether it is worth hiring a private detective. Rains explains that they are good for cases of infidelity or missing persons, but not for murder. It will be a waste of money. And if they interfere in the police investigation, they will be accused of falsifying evidence and deprived of their license. One evening, coming out of the subway station, Paul notices two men harassing a young woman. He tries to intervene, and they switch to him.
What the say, puto? Just leave her alone.
You talking to me?
He is brutally beaten, but thanks to this, the girl manages to escape. Returning home bruised and exhausted, Paul turns on the TV and sees a commercial for a gun store. This commercial plants an idea in his head. The next day, he goes into the store. The saleswoman greets him warmly and proudly shows different kinds of weapons. Then she explains the purchase procedure. To his disappointment, buying a gun is accompanied by a pile of paperwork, mandatory safety courses, and constant video surveillance. Paul leaves, saying that he will think about it.
I'm gonna think about it, and I'll come back.
Great, just ask for Bethany.
Soon during work at the hospital, they receive a new patient with a gunshot wound. When he is transferred to the table, a pistol falls out of his pocket. Paul quietly hides it under the operating table. Later, he hides the weapon under his clothes and takes it with him. Trying to shoot for the first time, he makes a ricochet, gets scared, and understands that he is absolutely not ready for this. Paul decides to become better. He spends all his free time on training videos and practice until his hand becomes steady and his shooting confident. Soon, Paul is called to the intensive care unit. Jordan has a seizure, her condition worsens, and the hope for recovery becomes less and less. Seeing his daughter strapped with belts for her own safety, he boils with rage. After all, those who did this to her are still walking free. This becomes the turning point.
Look what these animals did to my baby.
That same night, Paul takes the pistol, pulls on a hood, and goes to one of the most dangerous neighborhoods of Chicago. He goes deeper into the blocks and notices two men trying to steal a woman's car. Paul intervenes. In response, they open fire while driving away, but Paul rolls aside, dodging the bullets, and answers with shots. The bullet hits the driver, The car crashes. In the chaos, a shard of glass cuts Paul's arm. From the window of a nearby house, a woman records everything on her phone. The second raider climbs out and shoots in panic. Paul takes cover behind another car, waits for the moment, and with a shot to the head takes him down. Coming closer, he makes a finishing shot so that he does not get up. To the woman, he tells to run and calmly walks away. Approaching the crashed car, he sees the driver take his last breath and die. On the way home, Paul throws the hoodie into a trash bin and gets on a train. At home, he treats the wound and falls asleep on the couch. But the sleep is torn by flashbacks of what happened. Soon detectives Rains and Jackson begin questioning witnesses. The woman whose car they tried to steal thanks the unknown man for saving her.
He saved my life. Like a guardian angel.
Everyone gives the same description. People call him a guardian angel. But that same woman with the recording says, cold and merciless. Rewatching the video, the detectives notice his wounded arm. It was clear he was not shot. It was recoil from the shots. Jackson concludes, someone inexperienced was shooting. Rains asks the witness not to post the video online, but she had already done it several hours ago.
I uploaded that shit hours ago. I'm getting hits like a mother.
Terrific.
The recording spreads across the internet, though the shooter's face is not visible, only the silhouette in the hoodie and his wounded arm. Paul watches the video at home and cannot believe that it was he who did this. The news immediately picks up the story. The unknown Avenger is called the Reaper. Even reporters call him a hero, and ordinary people get more and more drawn into this story.
This guy in the hoodie, they're calling him the Grim Reaper, that shot these bad guys, these carjackers, according to witnesses.
At the hospital, Paul hides his injured arm under a bandage and keeps it in his pocket every time police officers pass by. Later that same day, he treats a boy with a gunshot wound. Paul's calm and caring approach wins the child's trust, and he admits that he was shot by a local drug dealer nicknamed the Ice Cream Man.
The ice cream, honey.
The ice cream man.
From the medical chart, Paul even finds this man's address. Finishing work, Paul takes another hoodie from the hospital laundry and goes to the same dangerous neighborhood where the boy was attacked. There he notices the Ice Cream Man walking down the street.
Come on, but show him the picture. You'll see that cat.
Hey, look here.
Without hesitation, Paul raises the pistol and shoots him, after which he quickly disappears. Locals immediately run up and begin dismantling the dealer's cart, grabbing everything they can carry. Soon the police arrive at the scene. Witnesses again describe the mysterious figure in the hoodie.
The Grim Reaper. They say he didn't take anything, just walked up, shot the victim, and left.
Jackson is confused. She tells Rains who exactly was killed. Rains notices children on the sidewalk reenacting the shooting scene and pays attention to one detail. A boy mimics the shots with his left hand. Remembering the first video of the Reaper, he begins to suspect that both cases are connected with the same person. Paul continues to treat his wound. Meanwhile, the media explode with new reports about the Night Avenger. While the chiefs scold the detectives for not stopping him yet, Paul secretly watches the news at home, feeling a mix of pride and satisfaction. The media admire him. Some turn the story into a racial issue. Others believe he delivers justice.
I mean, he's making it hard for the people that live on that very block.
At the station, the situation is tougher. The chiefs scold the detectives again, since now they fear copycats. But even after sharing all the leads, Rains and Jackson do not have enough evidence.
He had a lack of basic weapon skills, to say the least.
Paul gradually begins to feel better. The therapist notices this and asks if he has found any new activities, then advises him to continue in the same spirit.
Well, whatever you're doing, keep it up.
Okay, I will.
A few days later, Paul operates on another patient with a gunshot wound and is speechless when he sees that it is Miguel, the same parking attendant who once mocked him and stole the address. On his wrist are the watches given to Lucy for her birthday. Paul tries to maintain professionalism, but only halfway, and Miguel dies on the operating table.
Time of death, 9:35 p.m.
Taking advantage of the moment, Paul climbs into the ambulance, takes Miguel's phone, and even uses his finger to unlock it. He returns his watch and phone, after which goes to his office and begins to view the contents. Flipping through the photographs, Paul feels disgust. Among the shots is one taken right in his car, with his home address on the dashboard. A memory of the family's conversation with Frank flashes before his eyes. Then he notices a photo of the wine store. Paul decides to go there, but on the way out he runs into Frank. Frank comes to visit Paul and his niece. He suggests going to lunch, but Paul says he cannot leave. Then Frank asks if Paul needs money, and Paul takes offense, deciding that his brother sees him only as a beggar. In fact, Frank has come to return a debt of $2,000 and to share the joy that he has found a job. Having said this, he leaves despite Paul's attempts to hold him back.
Frank.
Later, man.
I'll see you.
Yeah.
After this, Paul again takes a hoodie from the hospital laundry and goes to that very store. Pretending to be Miguel's friend, he tries to gain the owner's trust, but the owner notices the tag with the hospital's name on his hoodie and secretly writes a message to someone named Fish, telling him to come immediately.
Panerai watches? You got any of those?
Meanwhile, the owner reaches for a revolver, but Paul notices this movement in the mirror. He reacts instantly and immediately throws a dart into his opponent's hand. At gunpoint, Paul forces him to drop the weapon and demands to show the stolen things. The owner reluctantly leads him to a safe in the back room. He swears that he knows nothing and only accepts deliveries from others.
What is it? What is it, bullshit?
Inside, Paul discovers valuables stolen from his house. But before he can do anything, Fish bursts into the store and opens fire. Paul manages to duck, and Fish's bullet hits the store owner. A shootout begins. Fish fires wildly, spraying everything with lead, while Paul frantically reloads his gun. Fish slips on a pool of blood, and Paul grabs a guitar standing in the room and smashes it against him, then topples heavy furniture onto him. Fish barely dodges and retreats to the bar counter. Using the surveillance cameras, Paul waits for the right moment and shoots, hitting Fish in the leg. He falls to the floor. Paul steps on the wounded leg and demands to say who killed Lucy. Under pressure, Fish confesses it was a mechanic named Joe, and the address can be found in his phone. But as soon as Paul reaches for it, Fish kicks him so hard that he crashes into a shelf. Fish gets up, holding a gun, preparing to finish him off. But from above, from the shelf, a bowling ball falls on him, hitting him right in the head. Paul uses the moment and shoots him with his own weapon. Before leaving, Paul takes the hard drives from the store's surveillance cameras, but accidentally drops his ring, not noticing it. At home, he turns on a training video to understand how to destroy the drives with a drill. The next day, rumors about the city vigilante spread even further. The media create a real frenzy.
This old white dude, and he's walking with his hood up, looking super suspicious, just like...
In the hospital, Paul quietly takes syringes and medicines, but then detectives Raines and Jackson appear. They show him a photo of Fish and the ring found at the crime scene.
What did he say?
Well, unfortunately, he was killed last night.
Considering it stolen, they return the ring to Paul as evidence connected with the robbery, not knowing that it was he who left the ring in the store.
Now that we have Carp, it's just a matter of time before we have the rest of them.
Breathing a sigh of relief, Paul politely thanks them, and later destroys Fish's phone to cover his tracks. Following the new lead, Paul goes to Joe's auto repair shop. He sneaks up while Joe is working under a car and knocks him out with a wrench. Joe comes to his senses, already tied up under the car. Paul begins a brutal interrogation. He injects some substance, cuts the skin, and pours brake fluid into the wound, causing unbearable pain. Finally, Joe cannot stand it and gives up the name Knox. Paul coldly thanks him, pretends to let him go, and then activates the lift mechanism, causing the car to crash down right onto Joe. Meanwhile, the detectives begin to suspect something. They visit Frank, explaining that the Reaper is deliberately killing the same criminals who were involved in Lucy's death. They want to look at his hand, hoping to compare it with the wound of the Avenger.
Of course. So, do you mind if we see your hands?
In the hospital, Paul sits next to Jordan, but sees disturbing news. Copycats appear, committing murder in the name of the Reaper. Suddenly, a call comes from Knox. He orders him to arrive at the nightclub within half an hour.
That's a club off Ashland. Are we waiting?
Why would I do that?
While Paul is driving, Frank comes to his house. Hearing no answer, he enters and sees a basement filled with weapons, ammunition, and evidence of his brother's double life. He realizes Paul is the Reaper.
Paul.
In the crowded nightclub, Paul texts Knox that he has arrived. Knox orders him to go to the bathroom. Hearing a phone ring in a stall, Paul kicks the door open and finds only a phone left there. It was a trap. At that moment, Knox appears from behind, using a random person as cover, and starts shooting into the crowd, mercilessly killing innocents. In the chaos, the club turns into a massacre. Paul is wounded and takes cover in a bathroom stall. From there, he returns fire and grazes Knox. Orienting himself, Paul shoots at the electrical panel, plunging the club into darkness. In the confusion, he blends into the panicked crowd and slips away unnoticed. Soon the detectives are informed about what happened. They rush to the hospital, where one of the injured turns out to be Knox himself. Paul hides in another ward and painfully treats his new wound with glue and a stapler. Knox gives a detailed description of the shooter, and the detectives head straight to Paul's office. But when they burst in, he is already gone. Later, he returns home, where Frank is waiting for him. Horrified, Frank accuses his brother of how far he has gone. Paul insists that he had no choice. No one else wanted to act.
I worked hard. I obeyed the law.
Their tense conversation is interrupted by the detectives ringing the doorbell. Frank opens and lies that Paul is not there.
We're expecting your brother.
Yeah, he's out. Dinner party. Why, what's up?
The police still have their suspicions, but without a warrant, they are forced to leave. Frank returns to his brother and talks about how everything can be fixed.
We gotta figure this out if there's anything the cops can find. You know, there were cameras in the club.
That same night, Paul receives the long-awaited call from the hospital. Jordan regains consciousness, and he rushes to his daughter. He is happy to hug her conscious for the first time in a long while. The meeting turns out to be very bitter. He has to tell her that her mother is gone. Jordan cannot hold back her tears. "Daddy, they won't tell me where Mom is."
Dad, they won't tell me where Mom is.
When his daughter's condition stabilizes, Paul promises Frank that he will no longer take justice into his own hands.
Not this other thing, not this other guy. You.
It's over.
A week later, Jordan is discharged home. The detectives question her, but she remembers nothing about the night of the attack. When Paul and Jordan ride the elevator, Knox enters with them. For his daughter's safety, Paul pretends not to recognize him.
Are you better?
Yeah.
Knox strikes up a casual conversation, but, leaving, throws a clear threat. They will meet again. Realizing that Knox is close, Paul returns to the gun store and officially buys a weapon. In the evening, while Jordan is getting ready for bed, Paul notices movement outside the window.
Slide it down a little bit. Yeah, just a little
Why are
bit.
you moving this?
He tells his daughter to hide under the stairs and call the police. Soon men break into the house. One shoots at the silhouette on the bed, thinking Paul is there, but finds only a dummy made of pillows. Another follows the sound of running water, but walks into an ambush. Paul takes him down with a single shot. When the first intruder comes back to check on his partner, Paul is already waiting for him and likewise eliminates him, throwing the body down.
Jordan, I'm okay.
Dad! Dad!
Stay quiet.
Hearing noise from the basement, Paul goes down, and there Knox ambushes him. He shoots Paul in the shoulder and knocks him onto the couch.
Sit down.
Dad?
On the stairs, Jordan appears and screams in terror, distracting Knox for a moment. Paul presses a hidden button on the table, and a concealed weapon slides out. With this shot, he kills Knox for good. When the police arrive, Paul states that all his wounds are the result of the attack that night, and that the weapon was purchased legally.
You can call Jolly Roger Sporting Goods. Ask for Bethany.
The detectives treat his answer with skepticism but accept the version. Case closed. The criminals are eliminated.
And Dr. Kersey, stick to saving lives. You're good at it.
Sometime later, Paul takes Jordan to New York, where her new life in college begins. A friend is waiting for her at the entrance. As Paul walks back to his car, he notices a thief snatching a bag from a porter's cart. Instinctively, he raises his hand as if aiming a gun and calls out to him.